SalvaEcua. I'm out here with a second time with Ringo Miranda. What's good, man? Samuel Miranda, what's up?
Todo bien, tranquilo, papá. Aquí de nuevo, un honor. Vamos a platicar.
Una saludo a mi gente de Cuba, a mi gente boricua,
Eso
a la gente de Ringo,
right.
a la gente de El Salvador, del Ecuador, de Guatemala, de Guatepeor,
el
de donde
Caribe,
sea.
Sudamérica, Centroamérica, África, de todos lados, papá. Un saludo a todos, paz y amor.
Que tú sabes que nosotros vinimos aquí para mejorarnos, para hacer un futuro mejor, para estar ahí apoyando a la familia de nosotros, y así es en la comunidad hispana y en el historial de la migración ante un país que da oportunidad y bendiciones, So, de verdad, le amo muchísimo a mi gente. Espero que todos ustedes estén fuertes, estén con Dios. Aunque toda mi gente no me amen, así es la vida y así va a ser. Eso no importa que uno sea blanco, que uno sea africano, que uno sea de aquí o de allá. La gente en general son gente y si le van a amar, le van a amar, y si le van a hacer leal, le van a hacer leal. Pero es más de la persona, en general, pues. Pero yeah, so what's up, my peoples? We were just speaking in Spanish for a little bit. We're going to start the show up talking about the electric bike movement. That's actually how I met him years ago. And we was out there in Manhattan, right, doing work with electric bikes, going to the Chinese mechanics. So I want him to clarify and to, elaborate more on that experience as an e-biker himself.
Well, coming from a background, I've been in the field of logistics since day one. DHL, UPS, FedEx, Emery Worldwide, Airborne Express, and at the same time I was doing messenger work, on the fixed bike, and that was an experience. But then, as things were changing and all these apps started coming out of nowhere with Uber and Caviar, I brought my first e-bike, and it was an Arrow 5, solid steel. And what an experience that was. It was heavy, solid, and a new thing for me because I had to learn how to throttle and ride. It felt like I was riding a motorcycle, but it was the new wave now. New rules, new everything. It's not like riding a regular bike. Well, when you ride a regular bike, yeah, you're zooming in and out of streets and all that. But I didn't ride, recklessly and not like that. But it was different. Now, as time went by and the bikes got stronger, the levels went up, changed, new people came in, the new generations came in. It's deadly out there right now. But the e-bike's the new thing to go. At one time, I thought it was going to replace the motorcycle, but I think, because I know Harley Davidson tried to go that route also with the e-bikes, with their e-bike, Air electric motorcycle, because it's the new thing. And now the mainstream people, anybody can get an e-bike and ride a bike. My thing is an e-bike is a tool. For me, it's a tool. It's not a pleasure thing or a leisure thing. It's a tool. It's what I work with. I work for Uber, so it's what I work with. And for some people, it's another thing. It's just a joyride or another thing for them. For me, it's my tool. So yeah.
I got you, man. To bring some positive comedy to the situation, when you're talking about Uber, you reminded me of a lot of the migrants in Manhattan, right, that we see out there doing Uber. And they don't exactly say this, but I made up like a little motto kind of to relate to them. And like they'll have an accent like they came from like East Asia or something like that, like Southeast Asia, or like they're Arabic or something. So I'll play around sometimes and be like, I do Uber for my family, So if you was to grow your beard and if you was to actually talk like that, I do Uber to my family, you wouldn't really blend in with them.
Yeah, I can get away with it.
Yeah, exactly.
I can do many accents. I can get away with it.
Yeah, he be having a long beard. Like, y'all see him right now with this little short beard, but he be having a full beard like he's like in a Bible movie or something,
Moses.
Like he's Moses or something, yeah, with that full beard. But that's what it is, So as far as the e-bike experience, right, what exactly has changed from the time that you started till now? Because I remember when I first started going back out in Manhattan in my teenage years, these e-bikes started around that time, and I would see keys inside of a bike, and I would see, in particular, a lot of indigenous migrants, Latin Americans on those e-bikes going all over the place. And I was like, what the hell is that? Because with the key in it, it looks like a car, but it is a bike, you know, with the way it was designed.
But what people don't realize and don't remember, that in the early 2000s, the Chinese guys in the restaurants were already using them, and nobody was paying attention to them. And nobody was paying attention to those people using those bikes that they have, the Arrow bikes and the scooters, and nobody was paying. They thought it was, he's delivering food. No, we were out there riding bikes, regular fixes or mountain bikes. These guys were riding these big truck bikes, and nobody was paying attention that they were electric. It was the 2000s. No. So my thing is, I brought my bike in late 2017 to 18. And like I said, the apps were fairly young. Uber was Uber Rush, and Caviar was strong. You had Postmates, you had this early something Bird, Springbird, I don't know, I forgot the name of it. They had black e-bikes. So this thing was new to me, so I didn't know this was gonna blow up. But I was still riding like I said, a mountain bike and a fix until I got my Arrow. Where's it going? Well, the things that have changed is more people and less pay. It was good until before COVID. After COVID, things happened, laws were passed. I guess the mayor did what he had to do. We took the cuts, whatever, and it went down. The money went down, the situation, the tips went down. So where if you get a tip, be happy about it. Sometimes you don't even get a tip. But back in 2018 and 19 and 20, I call that the golden years. Because when Uber Rush turned to Uber Eats and everybody else came on, Postmates, and then Seamless came, then Grubhub, there was some great tips. But then again, things change. Politics, whatever, the influx of new people coming into the city, eventually, these past 3 years. And where it was maybe 100 guys in your sector, now there's like 500 guys in your sector. You're not gonna make the same kind of money and you're not gonna get the same hours. And that's a drastic change for someone who's been there that long like me and has been loyal and put in the work. I've covered 10,000 miles already, in the years that I've been there. And trust me, I've been all over the city, from downtown all the way up to the Bronx. I used to cover. I used to do like 16 hours. Yes, 72nd Street was a little bathroom in the McDonald's. Everybody took a bird bath in there, ate that McDonald's thing, because some of us used to get it for free because we used to pick up McDonald's there on 72nd Street in Manhattan. And you wash up and you keep on going till 2 or 3 in the morning, and then you go home and you come back out again. You made your own hours back then. So I used to be in the city at 9 o'clock in the morning. I had 3 batteries. 9 o'clock in the morning, and I used to leave the city around 1 o'clock in the morning or 2 in the morning. And I used to get home at 4, sleep till like 9, get up, fly out, eat breakfast on the road, on the boat, and then do it again. It was good money, so you didn't feel the pain. You didn't feel the pain, or you weren't tired because the money was great. So that fueled you and that inspired you to keep on going. Yep.
And from 9 o'clock in the morning till like 2 o'clock at night, how much did you make? Because that's like 15, 16 hours right there.
Well, I'm not trying to brag or nothing like that, but back in 2018, 19, 20, if you made those hours in one day, you made a half a G. I'll put it that way. And the rainy days, forget about rain. We didn't even feel the rain because the tips were magnificent. You could make, in an hour, you could make $200 with tips and pay during the rain season. Yep.
By Central Park around 57th Street, I used to do orders over there years ago, and there was some good money around there, especially around prime time. And then, you know, also certain holidays or weekends, people would order. I would get orders there for like 30, 40, 50. And these are orders that you just go and pick up and drop off. Doesn't include like heavy lifting or shopping or stuff like that. That was like the rich area.
Yeah, and at that time, the people would come downstairs to meet you outside. You didn't have to go upstairs. You didn't have to go to no buildings. Sometimes they met you outside, and you just boop and kept on going. It was great. Then there was no what like there is now, where you got to take pictures and all that. There was none of that back then. You delivered it to the person. He would wait for you outside by the curb or in front of the door, and boom. And then it started gradually going in that direction where you had to go upstairs. But still, it wasn't that much. That wasn't that much. And like I said, the tips were great, so you didn't feel like you were overworking yourself. There was guys out there practically sleeping out there. They would charge their bikes in these buildings, these little lots, or these garages, and go right back out, killing it. And the tips, like I said, is what fueled you. If you seen the tips and the money we were making in those years, we didn't forget about it. And I used to tell people that used to be laughing at us, oh, you don't know how much we make, bro. Don't laugh. But now they can laugh.
You know, the job itself is very volatile. Also, what I could say is I've even seen this happen within the time that I was doing it, which is why I left it. The influx of migrants or of people, even Americans, starting to get into this job, especially after the epidemic, brought a lot of strain to the platform, right? And people like me that were working in this field were affected by it a lot. I was in there way before the epidemic, years before that. And after that, you know, all these new people that lost their jobs went into this field of work, and they just messed it up for people like me that were in there years before they decided to get on that wave. And with Ringo, it might have been even worse because you were there way before I was in there. So it's almost like to see like you starting to get, even if you're not pushed out completely, slightly by the, you know, mass migration of new employees, right, that are starting to do this job, is just ridiculous. Unfortunately, they don't prioritize the ones that were there, right, from day one.
Yeah.
When the new guys step in, it's like they just throw more to work and you are forgotten. I still got the apps, but I don't really be on DoorDash like that doing work because I felt like when I really needed them, you know, I was pushed aside, and it's like, all right, well, you want to get these new guys to work for you, go ahead, but I'm good, I'm done.
Well, a lot of things happened, like when the COVID hit, and a lot of people lost their jobs or they had to leave, whatever. They went on the bikes, and they went on the apps. Okay, regular folks was doing the apps. You know, Jerry was doing the app, Joey was doing the app, Carlos over here was doing the app, and they used to have office jobs, whatever. Okay, I still was getting mine, so I don't care. But then, another terrible thing that was starting to happen was the crime against food delivery people. Okay, so, and this is like during the COVID, a lot of bike theft, a lot of phone theft, personal property theft. Even sad to say, people died doing this. They got stuck up, shot up, okay? I myself delivered one time and got threatened, and he had a little, I don't know if it was a 22, whatever. And I didn't react. I just like, like, damn. Inside was like, chill, don't react, because I could have got bucked right there. So I just gave him his food and took the, bereavement, and that's it, and I just kept it moving. I didn't get shot, so that's a good day. But other people got shot. Other people got stabbed for their bikes. A lot of people lost their bikes. I lost my back rim, the motor. I came and my whole motor was gone. My whole back wheel was gone. So I had to schlep all the way up to 72nd Street to find that same model of a wheel. It's not only a wheel, it's the back motor. You need that. It's very important. And that thing, back that time, it was $500 at that time. So yeah, the crime, not so much the influx of people, because the influx of people didn't start coming in until the last 3 years. what was it, 22, right?
No, but before the epidemic, though, there was, I think, like a lot of like Southeast Asians, Indians, people from that part of the world were migrating here and doing DoorDash, and they were stepping into it like crazy. Like I remember on Mulberry, we would wait in front of this pizzeria for orders, which was high-paying orders, and out of nowhere, you would just see like 20 Indians, 30, 40 Indians.
Oh, yeah.
And you had people complaining about them. I wasn't necessarily complaining due to racial situations they were, but I was more like, hey, just let me do my job, send me orders, and what they do is what they do. You know, I was more understanding.
I didn't feel it like that back then because I was still getting mines. So I no longer was making the same money, but I wasn't too far from it either. Let's say 2,007 days, now I was making 1,500. Then it started dwindling down. Then by the time the new influx of people, the last since 22, if you made $100 back then with the we used to get the specials. I don't know if you remember the specials.
Of course, yeah, like the bonuses and
the
stuff.
The bonuses and the specials. You do 5 runs, you get $40. You do 10 runs, you get $100, something like that.
Or like you get 5 each order or something like that.
No, not the bunch orders, but the specials. Like
no, but that's what I'm saying. Like in DoorDash, for example, you would get $5 more each, or something like that. In Uber Eats, what you were doing, that's different.
Yeah, we were. If you do 20 runs, you made $200. If you did 20 runs back then, and it was some serious thing. But then with the large, the new people since 22 came in, things started going dwindling down. Why? Because it was oversaturated now. And then the new rules that came in that were like 3 years late when, what was that organization, the Deliveristas?
Yeah.
They were fighting for better pay.
The Hispanics.
Right. It happened, but it happened 3 years later. And then for like a couple of months, it was good. Then all of a sudden, somebody did the math and said, we can't pay all these type of people this kind of money. And boop, it got slashed. We were brought down from $30 an hour all the way down to 17. Now we're back up to 21. But there was no such thing as you had to make what was it, schedule?
That's fairly new, yeah, for some of these apps.
Yeah, back then you just push the button and go in and leave. But now you got, with so many people, you know, they do it in spurts. They do it in sections or times. These 100 people go in the morning. These 200 go in the middle. And so now you got to pick a time to get on, to schedule. There was no scheduling back then, and this is still brand new. But it hurt a lot of people. I'll be up front, it hurt a lot of people in the pockets. Yes, it did.
With the 30 an hour, I was making about $1,400 a week, and that only lasted, like he said, was a couple of months. And I was making that here on Staten Island, not in Manhattan. And the law passed 2 years ago, something like that. Yeah. And I was doing really good. But again, the platform, like he said, found that to be unsustainable. Also, there was an influx of people trying to get in there because they heard about it. And this is the thing that I'm saying about these platforms, is that you're an OG, for example. You've been involved in the game for 15, 20 years. Mm-hmm. I was in there for 8 years, 9 years. And we're still not being prioritized over these new guys that are coming in, trying to, make a living in it, which I understand. But again, you can't put us in the same bracket because obviously we have more experience than these guys. We paid our dues, blood, sweat, and tears, rain, snow, cold, heat, even the protests. I was driving around in Manhattan doing, me and him were actually working during the time of the epidemic. They were burning trash cans. Mm-hmm. I'm talking about things on the street, breaking into businesses, stealing from 7-Eleven, pharmacies. Mm-hmm. I seen these kids smashing into these glass stores like they were like bullets. And I didn't record the faces or anything like that, but from far, I guess I recorded somewhat of it. I wasn't trying to get anybody in trouble, even though that can be seen as morally wrong. You have to understand, a lot of these people that were doing it were kids, and I seen them sharing chips and sharing cookies and candy, and they were even trying to share with me. And I didn't take it because I was already working, I was already making a living, so I didn't really need to. Maybe if I really needed to, I would have taken a drink or a water or something like that. But it touched my heart, and I just felt so bad because not all of them are these monsters that the media was trying to paint them out to be. Some of these, people were kids, 12, 13, 14 years old. Imagine you being that age. The world is practically ending. There's huge riots, huge protests, epidemic. There's a spread of disease, right? At that time, you had a big problem with C-19 virus. And, seeing it from the perspective of a younger adult, it's like, how are they supposed to deal with this without expressing the chaos that's happening externally in a, internal social way? And that shows you, how people reflect how society is going. And that's all that these kids were doing from my view, from my understanding of psychology and of the human mind. And it makes sense, but that touched my heart a lot. And again, me and him were working around that time, and they were paying decently, but again, it wasn't sustainable because the job is very volatile. It was only until the epidemic stopped that actually had lasted, and after that it dried up again, so me and him went through a lot of history in this business and in this field of work. That's how me and him were, able to get cool. And he even sold me some parts for bikes in the past. I sold him a bike, which he paid in full, very hard worker. And I'm telling you, as somebody who did this job, for somebody to pay almost $2,000 in full for a bike, like, it shows you the dedication, the focus, and the work ethic that's behind them, because it's not easy to make that amount of money, especially right with a job that's so volatile. Like he said, some days you could get 500, but some days you only get 40, you only get 30, 50. And that's how this job works, which is why there might not be a sense of security there, but of course it's needed.
Yeah. You got to put, now these days, you got to really put it in to get it. Like you said, some days you can make 100 and the next day you make 40. I've been there. I've been there when I made 100 and the next following day I made 20. So it's not the same anymore. Back in the days when I first started it was automatic money, automatic big money, good money. You know what I'm saying? So you could sustain a family with what you was making when I got in, So that's why I'm glad I retired from the private sector in logistics and got into the biking. I did 30 years for DHL, which was when I was in Airborne. I started with Emory, went to Airborne, and then to DHL. So all three of them are the same companies, and Purelator. So I did 30 years. I was a Teamster, 851, 295. So by the time I retired, I jumped onto the bike and became a bike messenger. So I know the streets. I've been in the game so long. And then I became, when the apps came in, somebody told me about the apps, then I went to the apps. Like I said, I've been faithful to my app since day one. And then I went into Postmates, which was brought out by Uber. And now they're one. But there's guys out there doing like 6 apps. I can't do that. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna be racing around like that, doing 6 apps or more than 2 apps. I'm good. I'm good. But this is where we at now, that you gotta have like 3 phones to make money. Why? Because of the oversaturation and the of people's, and you're not gonna get a payout. There's like, let's say there's like I just said, 500 guys in one sector. You're not gonna make no money. And that's your sector, and they're in there too. You're not gonna make no money. It is what it is.
I do also appreciate how he brought up the reality of the crime that we had to deal with as messengers in the city of New York. And that's also something that I would like to talk about, how I went through a lot as far as thefts, and not necessarily people aggravating me to steal my actual property in my face, because for the most part, not saying it in a prideful, egotistical way, but when you're a bigger guy that admits strength, either physically or mentally, people will have a tendency to leave you alone, at least in front of your face, even if they try to mock you or start with you, which is also what happened. And so even though I was able to get along with a lot of bikers, I've also came into the conclusion out of life experience that a lot of bikers themselves were extremely rude. And even Ringo has spoken to me about that in the past. Like, yo, you hanging out with these guys, he seemed a little funny. And at the time, I didn't really understand what he was saying, but as an older man, he had the wisdom to see through. And even though I didn't completely, let's just say, deny what he said, I took it into account. I just didn't really think it was a problem because, again, I'm not that close to them. We just see them for work. Then people go home, I go home. We're not really that close. It's not like we're buying a house together or we're doing all of this stuff that takes up a lot of time and that you have an actual contract not to stick with them. But within our experience, you know, even though we have love and I have love for the biker community, there's a lot of disloyalty in there too, you know, so I learned that the hard way. I got about 5 e-bikes stolen from me. Again, not in face-to-face interactions. It was more behind my back. You lock up your bike and you go to drop off your order, and by the time you come back, the chain is cut. A lot of these guys walk around with a grinder. It's like an electric type of grinder. One of the guys that I found trying to steal my bike, he was in Soho, and I was hanging out, and he didn't know that was my bike. And when I seen him try to touch it, I went up to him, and I'm like, what the hell are you doing? And he's like, yo, papa, I'm sorry, and he was Spanish. And I told him, I'm like, yo, see, this is why, you know, we don't progress. Like, we keep doing this to each other. What the hell's your problem? Like, you're my people's, you know, not even in a social way, because obviously he's trying to steal from me, but I was saying that in the form of like, you're my people's in a genetic way or in a cultural way. Like, we speak the same language. Like, you're Hispanic, even if you're Hispanic from here and I'm from over there, and we're still doing this to each other. I'm like, what the hell, you know? And later on, he got caught by some other indigenous Latin American migrants. You can tell by the way they were talking, by their size and by how they look. Not trying to stereotype, but I know my people. As you can see, I have a Salvadorian, you know, piece on right now, so I know. And when they caught him, he was trying to use like the grinder that you use to slice the chain off to steal the bike. He was trying to use that against them. And that's what these thieves do. They'll use that grinder, try to chop you up right then and there in the city of Manhattan, a place where, like, again, there's so many police officers. It's supposed to be safer. And I came to the conclusion that Manhattan, even though it's the heart of New York City and there's a lot of police officers and all that type of stuff, it could still be a dangerous place. And a lot of times when stuff happens, these guys are nowhere to be found. So don't come over here like a tourist and think, oh, I'm safe. It doesn't mean anything. Yeah, you're around more people. Yes, there's more of a chance for some to respond. But from my view, right, when some of these guys are stealing bikes, people don't even say anything anymore. It's rare. That happened to me. Somebody did. I heard chase somebody away from stealing my bike in the Lower East Side. I believe it was by East Houston, somewhere there. And they chased him away, and I found out because when I came out, I seen my bike on the pole, and the U-lock, it was on the ground and it was broken. Then somebody told me the story. He's like, yeah, some random guy chased him away and he left the bike there. But that just goes to show you the crime, the pain, the suffering that we had to go through as messengers in the city of New York. And who better to feel my pain than Ringo?
Listen, when the new influx of people came in, they came in with no money, or they had money, whatever. They didn't have bikes. So what did they do? They went out there and started chopping up the bikes, getting the bikes. Now they're going after the batteries these days. They don't even go after the bike anymore. Now they're stealing batteries. They don't steal bikes anymore. Now they steal batteries these days.
Because of the serial numbers, right?
That and all that, but now batteries are, because you can sell a battery up to $500, you know, in the market. But the reason why the bike theft, because when I started, there was no such thing as bike thefts. Nah.
Oh, for real?
No.
You serious?
No, nobody was stealing bikes.
I thought in the 80s, crime was higher.
No, nobody was stealing bikes. Nobody was bothering no bike.
They didn't have e-bikes back then.
No,
right?
it's about when I got my first e-bike in 2018, nobody was stealing e-bikes.
They just came out, though.
No, they were out before. Remember, I told you that in the early 2000s, the Chinese were already using it. You gotta remember that.
No, I did see them like in the early...
Remember, my bike was an Arrow 5. That's the original bike. They don't even make that anymore. It was an alloy, like, it turned alloy after I think number 7, Arrow 7. My bike is solid steel, Arrow 5, the original. when the first bikes came out. So those are the ones that the earlier bikes that were seen when nobody was paying attention to them. But anyway, when I was doing it, when I got into the apps, nobody was stealing bikes. Nobody was getting bumped up. It happened during the COVID. During the COVID areas when the theft started happening, the stabbings, the shooting, the 2 shootouts, the fights and whatnot. One time up in Delancey, all it takes is a second. Homeboy came right to my bike, but I stand near the doorway waiting for my food. So he didn't see me standing there. And yeah, I have a bad tendency of not putting my lock on it, but I stand right there. And he was already putting his hands on my bike, and in a flash, I was outside the door. I was on top of him in a flash. And yes, he was South American. So, I insulted him, and he was apologizing. And I said, yo, but why, bro? Why? In Spanish. We were going back and forth in Spanish. But he apologized to me in Spanish, and yeah. And I told him, yo, I was gonna, I had my U-lock in my hand. I said, you would have had stitches in Spanish, I told him. But yep. All the thefts and all the crime was happening during COVID and after COVID is when all that started happening. But 2018 and 19, maybe, in a week, maybe one bike probably got stolen, I don't know. But not like during the COVID era, everybody was stealing bikes. There was a guy in the Bronx, Upper Manhattan, that when they raided his house, his whole living room was full of e-bikes that he was stealing and selling on the black market. See that?
That's what they were taking them. I GPSed one of the bikes because after like the second one, I wanted to find out where it was going. And it would appear it got stolen on 14th Street. It was in the Bronx 20 minutes after.
Yeah.
That's how fast they are, in a white van. Also, it was stored in a professional storage place. Again, they're using legitimate places to, sponsor their crime. Also, it's on these blocks in the Bronx where there's a gang in each block. Very dangerous area. And also, there's a whole network of them, meaning like this is a huge business. This is not just one guy doing it. I thought it was just like one random person. But no, they have like people on call and on standby and drivers, everything, people to distribute these bikes. They move them from location to location.
Yep.
At night, it goes to storage place, and the following day, it goes to somebody's house. Then without a warrant, you can't really go in there because then you'll be doing something illegal as well. At the most, you can knock on the door and say, hey, the GPS says that this bike, which has been stolen, is inside there and it's mine. I would like to have it back.
Well,
but they can lie to you and not allow you to come in.
Well, the guy that had all those bikes, what happened was the GPS led the owner plus more of the deliveristas up to his apartment with the cops. And when they told him to open the door, he opened it. Woo, what a warehouse in his living room. Yep. And his bike still had the chain on it. So this guy was one of those guys with vans, snatching a bike up and taking it all the way up to the Bronx or Manhattan or the Queens. That's what they do. They go to one borough and then leave to the next borough. They're not going to steal it and stay in the same borough because of the GPSs. That's another new thing. GPS? Nobody knew what a GPS back then was. Nobody was putting that on their bikes in the beginning. No one. It's after the fact that it was heavily, the thefts were done real, like in a day, forget about it. That's all you read. Like 50 bikes stolen. So then everybody started investing in GPSs, and that's what happened. Because the chains were no longer holding the bikes down. You needed a GPS on your bike to track it when it got stolen. Thank goodness that only my back motor, my wheel, which holds the motor, got stolen. But that was like in 22 that happened to me. So that was it. But now I just stay, my sector is in downtown. I don't do nowhere else. I don't even pass 14th Street anymore.
I would say the higher you go in Manhattan, like past the Lower East Side, there's like, especially like in that area too, there's a lot of bike thefts. Those guys are like running around, and in Spanish, what they call them is rats. That's what like a rat in English would be like, more of somebody
Ratas.
that is tattletaling in English, but in Spanish, a rata or a rat is somebody who's a thief.
A thief, yeah.
So that's what they called the guy that was trying to steal their bike that I told you he was trying to steal mine. He had an angle grinder. You can hear it, the motor. He's hitting the button trying to like scare them away, like he's gonna slice them up, you know, some crazy stuff. And I just seen a guy like a few months before that, and I gave him grace, meaning I had a chance to kind of, you know, be some justice towards him. But I let him go. I just cursed him out, you know. And again, like, that might not be the most like civil thing to do, but you have to understand, like, to me, that's better than, you know, doing something illegal and
you would've bashed
hurting
him.
somebody. And this is the thing, what he's doing is bad. But if I respond to that with negativity, then how much of a better person am I, you know? And within my experience in Manhattan working as a messenger, I've also spoken to people about this, particularly to him, to Ringo. And I even told him how the discrimination and the prejudiced behavior that I've witnessed in Manhattan was also horrible, which made me kind of also want to fall back from there, which is also one of the reasons why I stopped that job and stopped being around the Manhattan location. I felt like what these people were telling me by treating me, and this is the thing, it might have been minorities like myself, for example, right? You know, that are, you know, seen as a marginalized group, for example, like not a minority in the form where like we're smaller than somebody else, but it's just how people see it. I guess that's like the systematic approach, so you can understand. You know, I guess maybe they were reflecting the prejudiced behavior that they've encountered towards me, but they were doing it in a form where like they knew that it happened to them, but in the way that they seen it, they were like, oh yeah, I'm Hispanic like you, but you're the darker kind. You're the kind that is from another place in Latin America that's not so popular. You're from this kind that you're not like me. I'm a better Hispanic. My skin is lighter, for example, or my people are more successful, or whatever it is. These are examples. I've even seen it within blacks. I've seen it within whites. This is not even just a white problem. Some people will say, oh, well, all these white people in Manhattan were, you know, being racist towards me. No, I'm gonna tell you the truth. If I can really take in the whole thing into perspective, it was, since Manhattan is such a melting pot, it was practically all the nationalities in Manhattan, from lightest to darkest, showing me, you know, rude behavior due to classism, due to a prejudiced belief. I remember some people tried to start a fight with me because I was handing out flowers in Manhattan, and somebody told somebody else that I look like these guys in Uptown Manhattan, the South Bronx, that are committing crimes. And I'm like, oh, if I look like these guys that are committing crimes, then you look like somebody who's a mass shooter, and you look like somebody who's a terrorist, and you look like somebody who's a thief because of your skin color, and you look like somebody who eats cat because you're from this country. Like, it's a never-ending loop. You know, you know what I mean? Ignorance behind that is actually, it's a never-ending form of stupidity, because if you want to go by, you look like this and that, it will never stop. 100%, right? You can say that about anybody. So that made me kind of want to fall back. I felt like I didn't belong in an environment like that, and I still feel like that, which is why I'm eventually going to leave New York. I got to the point where I understand. You people try to make me look like or seem like I don't belong because I'm a driver when it comes to food delivery, I'm a messenger, I'm a biker, I have these e-bikes, again, bikes that are tied to a lower classism, or what you would see in India as a lower caste system. And the logic of the caste system in the Indian subcontinent, right, it's almost like the class system here in the US, where they really believe that if you do a job that's lowering the caste system, like for example, maintenance, janitor, you clean bathrooms, that you have been, you know, like corrupted, or you have been sort of like stained by this dirty environment of this job that you're doing, right? In this soiled, you know, environment, and that in turn them touching you means that they are going to be dirty. But the hypocrisy behind that is that they have to use the bathroom, and if somebody doesn't keep it clean, then the nation within itself is going to be filthy. So for them to say that they don't want to touch somebody because they do a job that's dirty while benefiting from people like that, is ridiculous, but these are the closed-minded ideologies that we see. So I came to the point where it's like, all right, they feel like I don't belong, but I 100% know that they don't belong in an environment of healthy-minded people, because that's sick behavior. And if I have to take myself out of that environment to, showcase to myself that I can survive within healthy individuals that respect me, that admire me, that have appreciation for me, then why not? So I'm telling you people this to say that, like, don't feel bad. Like, oh, I'm being rejected by this subculture or by this particular class of people or this group of people, whether it's culturally or racially or whatever. Don't feel bad, especially if they're in the wrong. And you could tell they're in the wrong by simply seeing that they're treating people unfair based on superficial aspects of judgments or perceived status or whatever. Don't feel bad. You know why? Because the same way that they feel like you don't deserve to be around them because of how you look or because of what job you do or because of whatever, it's the same way that they don't deserve to be around people that have real love, real decency, and that treat people fairly and have real kindness, because they are far from that and they won't know how to deal with that. So I hope that this is able to touch hearts out here and see that it's not just white people. Don't think that I'm attacking them. It's not just them. They can have a part of the problem in the pie, in the pizza pie, but I'm telling you, the problem is way bigger than them. If anything, I have more problems with minority groups that share that particular abusive ideological injustice towards their own, because they're supposed to feel my pain, yet they treat me worse. At least the ones in the higher social class can be ignorant to that and say, hey, I'm so rich and I look so different from you that I will never know what it feels like. But some of these people directly know how it feels like, and they'll continue to stab you in the back.
I saw it two different ways. The first one I saw was, the first way I saw it is our own peers in the game that we do, in delivery, were racist towards each other.
Unfortunately, yes. Thank you.
It's crazy. It's like that group don't want this group picking up food in this section, or don't park your bike on my pole, go over there with your people over there. They wouldn't even talk to you. Back then when I started, nobody was talking to me. Why? Because I'm Puerto Rican and Cuban, and I wasn't from South or Central America. So they were the majority doing it. And they didn't even talk to the Chinese either, So that was back then, but now everybody loves me. I get along with everybody and I know everybody. But when a lot of messengers got into the game, into the e-bike game, to food delivery, there was looks, there was murmurings, there was words like, yo, this is ours over here, what are you doing over here? Go back and do what you do, They didn't want to accept us. And that's a crazy thing. I was like, I didn't understand that. I'm like, yo, why is this guy talking to me like that and looking at me like that, and what's up, But then I understood. I was doing the game, and I felt like I was imposing on them, but they felt like I was taking their money out of their pockets. I don't know. And then another thing was, it's crazy because during the COVID, we were all like heroes to the upper class.
Essential workers. That's when we found out we were essential workers.
Right. So we were essential workers, but we were treated like heroes. They loved us. They would sing songs, hit cowbells, cheer for us.
They would clap at the buildings.
Yeah.
In certain times of the day when we would pass.
They were courteous to us.
I'm talking buildings of people were clapping and screaming at us because we were the only ones out there on the bikes.
Right. And the tips were good. But then after all that died out, and by 23, they look at you a certain way now, and they talk shit to you. Or now they don't even want to open the door no more, and then they snatch the food from you.
We became a piece of garbage again. Yeah, that's what happened. No, that's what I noticed though. Around the, time of the shutdown, we were their saviors. We were their, holy priest or whatever you want to see it as. But after that was gone, it's like the relationships out here. Like there's a honeymoon stage, and after that, like you're just a regular person.
Because back then you knew the people who you delivered to. You say hi, how you doing, blah blah blah. There was conversations, and sometimes you would see them more than once a week. But now you don't even see anybody. And if you do, they snatch your food from you and close the door real fast. And they don't even say nothing to you.
And right, like when you work in the city, you also see, like, because you're in a melting pot of people, right? You see a diversity of hatred, like how you were saying, like, you know, people from here don't get along with them, but there's so much nationalities. And again, I think for the tourists or for the people that visit New York City, you think that we're all together just because you see us all together in Times Square. But I'm telling you, a lot of these people have a prejudiced mindset. You might see them all in a restaurant, but they're all keeping it cool just to save face or just for social proof. When they go home, again, there's a lot of segregation still here. We all still live separately. Don't think that this is a mountain pot like how people think it is. And you know what? This is the thing. Some people like it like that. Some people fight for it. I have had people endorse violence towards me from all racial groups, from the lightest to the darkest, because of reasons like that. It's almost like they feel uncomfortable. There's a xenophobic aspect to it. Speak about that, because you did speak about it, but speak about it more in depth, because we do want to hear your viewpoint.
Sadly so, it's right. Amongst us, I'm gonna say from experience being out there, black and brown, delivering and getting looked down upon or talk crap to, because I'm wearing my green delivery outfit, whatever. Come on, bro. Yo, I'm in the same struggle. Chill. You know, I'm working. Why you gonna treat me like that? Why you gonna look down at me like that and talk to me like that? Really? You used to get your text, yo, where the H are you? Where the F are you? Then when you get there, they berate you. Are you serious? Don't have me go there, because I'm just as hood as you are. You know, sometimes I would go into projects and I would have to be really hood so they can know that I'm not what we call a herb, just doing food deliveries. You know, it's a job, so chill. You know, and that's sad. It's sad from everywhere. It could be anywhere, even the white folks now. Like you go in the elevator and they give you these mirrors and these looks. You know what I'm saying? And you know, like we're not essential anymore. Now we're just I don't know what you want to call it, whatever you want to call it, but we're not essential anymore. But that's where that, like he said, that racial language comes through. You know what I'm saying? And it's sad. Yo, relax.
And you know, this is the problem too, right? Is that when people have a prejudiced mindset, right, it doesn't, because you don't really see it blatantly out in the open, like as far as a racial war in New York, like how you might see an ethnic war in Africa and stuff like that. Because over there, they really do fight for, you know, ethnic physical features that are different from each other, right? Even if they're all from the same continent. But over here is more of a subtle type of mindset. But the reality is the danger of it, right? I don't know if you've gone through this. I'm sure you have, because Manhattan is crazy. The prejudiced mindset, right, leads to rationalizing, right, this bad behavior towards somebody else because they're different from you, right? But that also involves speaking, because at some point in time, they're going to express themselves. And the gossip that can come from there is exactly what has almost incited violence for me several times. Like I remember there was this big ass white guy, like I think he's like 6'5" or something like that. I found out, you know, afterwards that he was a Jew, right? And this is the funny part. He discriminated me because somebody in his work environment, right, they were being racist or whatever, or maybe they were lying to not get in trouble and not get fired because they were interacting with me. But I was just there because I do work around there and I was supposed to get an order somewhere. So, you know, he came up to me, again, just because of somebody's gossip. Again, that's the danger of being a prejudiced person, inciting extreme violence. Later on, I found him on social media. I found out he was a Jewish guy, and I thought about it, and I'm like, dark hair and dark eyes. I'm like, in the times of Hitler, you would have been persecuted just like you were trying to persecute me. Yeah, he calmed down and he chilled out when he realized that everything was cleared up. And I'm just looking at him like, what the hell did you think I was here for? I'm a worker, I have a bike, I'm hanging out, it's a nice day, and I'm not staying here all day. I'm just here because I know people around here. This is where I work. You act like I'm standing over here and I'm like these guys that are homeless that stink and have shit pants and smell like piss and all that. Not trying to, degrade them, but I'm just being honest. And, having to go through stuff like that just made me, open my eyes more. And again, like I said, it's not just white people. I have love for all my human beings. It's not. There was also this black guy. He was a director. He was trying to attacked me because he stereotyped me and assumed that I was a part of a Salvadorian gang just because I'm from El Salvador and I have a SalvaEcua tattoo, which specifically states my brand, Salvador and Ecuador, SalvaEcua. I'm the only one with this. There's no other, and he kept being hard-headed, and it was just a whole bunch of stuff. And that is his prejudiced behavior from the darkest to the lightest, which I'm telling you, so there's no form of salvation for anybody now. I'm talking about we're all messed up in the head. And even in a diverse society and in a melting pot like New York City, you still see this. And it's just horrible because people that are watching us on the news or seeing everybody in Times Square, they really think we're all together. And I'm telling you guys right now, they are not all together. I would love to be all together. He would love that too. But they are not all together with us. Even Hispanics from the same Hispanic background might have a different view because of culture. White people with a different European background can have a different view too because of a culture, right? Same with like blacks. Some are North African, some are from West Africa. People have their own ideas, and you have to understand their own experiences have also turned them like that. Maybe they did go through a bad experience with Hispanics, so they look at me and they see a piece of garbage. But I also went through a bad experience with, for example, a European or an African or a Mexican or whatever. But I don't look at the entire population like that, and that takes strength to treat people like an individual and say just because a Chinese girl did me dirty doesn't mean that this next Chinese girl is going to do me dirty. And that's the power of maturity.
Also, this bull crap belief in the caste system. You got in the Latino population from different areas, like I mentioned before, that are lighter skin, fairer skin, thinking that because I go there and I'm looking like me and I'm wearing the delivery outfit, that I'm some little person. Yo, dude, chill. Because you got blue eyes and blonde hair and you speak Spanish. So what? I've seen it a lot. No. I see that in the restaurant businesses also. No, how they treat my fellow peers. I don't like that. I really don't like that. He's working for an Argentinian, just to say, and he's getting berated. No, man, cut it out, man. No. And that goes with that caste. Oh, I'm better than you system. Get out of here, man. No, we're all in the same struggle, I believe, and that's it. Let's eat, let's make money, and let's eat. That's it. I keep it real,
Exactly. I'm just really glad that I left the game of food delivery, even though it was fun. As far as riding bikes, that's fun, and being out, and the city visually looks beautiful. But I'm glad because, as far as his experience is separate from mine, maybe he went through more or I went through more, I don't know what, in certain ways, of course. I would say he went through more cold than me. I don't know how you took that for so long. Gets pretty horrible. Gets pretty horrible in the cold. I don't know, this guy has some balls. But I'm just so glad that I left that environment for me. I think because, since I'm younger, people are going to perceive me more sometimes as a threat than him. Right, they're gonna look at my size, they're gonna look at my age. When somebody's of a certain age, he's more seen like, oh, this guy's just, trying to get something. They just see him as more of a grandpa type of person. But me, I can get stereotyped very harshly. They'll assume, oh, he's young and strong. He must be using it for the bad of society, which is ridiculous because there's so many young and strong people that aren't. But I'm so glad that I really left that career behind, that job, and I stopped working in Manhattan because the hatred, the prejudiced behavior, the, sectarianism that I seen, the divide, just like the corruption, the theft, the crime, I'm telling you, I'm not gonna deal with that. I don't want to be around bad environments like that. I think in that form, for me, I think it was a very toxic environment. And I'm gonna tell the truth, when I got away from there and I never returned, none of these people ever try to bully me again. And you know what? Now I'm saying this with all the honesty in the world. I had to document a disability that I had since I was a child, which is speech impediment for something that I'm doing, some paperwork that I'm doing, right, for funding, you know, that I'm starting to get, right, for me to further my life and stuff like that. And now that I documented this as a disability, I just want you people, if you people out there that were trying to bully me or trying to rob my bikes or be prejudiced against me or all this stuff in Manhattan, if you're seeing this, if you're seeing this on TV, cable, via Spectrum, Verizon, or if you're seeing this online, I just want you to know that you were bullying a person with a disability, and I hope you're proud of yourself. And you were using my size, and you were using my strength, and you were using the way I look to justify your bad behavior towards me when you were bullying somebody that has a disability. And God is gonna judge you for that, because you don't play those games in life. And just because you didn't see it in a physical way, it doesn't mean it didn't hurt me or affect me for years, because it did. And I had to live with that, and I had to heal with that. And I'm here to tell you guys today, don't let nobody try to treat you like you're a dehumanized animal, because you have valid emotions, mindset, and a future to live for. And that's why you got to put your faith in God and stop believing that people are going to treat you like the king that you are, because they don't see themselves like that. So what makes you think that they're gonna treat you in a way where for them it's impossible to perceive the world like that?
For me, I'm still going. I'm still on my bike. You know, I'm still on my bike. It's 7 years. I'm still on my bike, going on 8. So I see it as an exercise. It keeps me going. At 62, it keeps me strong. It keeps me going. I bypass all that past nonsense that I went through, and whatever I see, now I just, like I said, keep it going. I go to work, do what I got to do, and that is it. And I go home. That's it. I don't pay it no mind anymore, because it's a different game now. So, para todos que están en las bicis, sigan para adelante, no mire para el lado, con lo tuyo solamente, haz tu plata, and that's it. And be happy.